Hi all. These are generally conversations between adults after the children have left the table. The language can be spicy and the subjects can get saucy. So if you're ready, this is the Southern Fork. Unscripted kitchen chats and also studio chats with some of the most interesting voices in the culinary South. I'm Stephanie Burt, a food and beverage writer based in Charleston, South Carolina, who travels with her fork to write for a variety of publications, from magazines you might have on your coffee table to the website you love to visit for your favorite recipes. And I'm inviting you to come behind the scenes with me to get to know the people who make this Southern culinary landscape so special. I'm always hungry for the next bite, thirsty for that next sip, and ready for the next conversation. Let's dig in. The Southern Fork is sponsored by me again this week. The world is topsy-turvy in 2020, and that goes for this show's sponsorship too. So, I'm going to shout out instead to Operation Barbecue Relief, a charity that you should check out. Providing relief all around the country, the organization has now served its 8 millionth meal, and they're mobilizing right now in Louisiana. Learn more about this organization on episode 117 and visit operationbbqrelief.org to see how you can help. Now, make it fast but keep it fresh with an extra side of salsa, please. This Labor Day weekend, let's talk about the work of restaurant building. Dalton Espaillat is a native of the Dominican Republic, and he moved to the Charlotte, North Carolina area when he was 15, and it was then that he began learning English. Today, he's one of North Carolina's fastest rising entrepreneurs, taking the success of his first restaurant, which was 3 Amigos Mexican Cantina, and using those lessons to build 17 locations of fast casual concept Sabor Latin Street Grill, which serves street food from El Salvador, Dominican Republic, Venezuela, Mexico, and Colombia. His newest restaurant baby, La Caseta, is inspired by the diverse staff of the company and their collective family traditions. But it's his perseverance to see problems as puzzles instead of panic buttons that illustrates that true entrepreneurial spirit. Welcome to the Southern Fork, Dalton.
Thank you for having me here.
Well, happy Saturday. So excited that we get to see each other in person with our socially distanced mics. I also am wondering where my pineapple habanero salsa and chips is. I didn't put in my order on Grubhub before I came in, so my fault. But it is perfect time for a snack, and Sabor is a perfect time. I really am so excited because I've never had a UNC Charlotte alumnus on.
Is that right?
And I'm an alumnus of UNC Charlotte. Yeah, so go 49ers.
Nice.
Right?
Yes.
So because we're both Charlotteans, I want to focus today, if we can, a little bit on just the origin story of Sabor, and just really that idea of life actually taking you in a direction that you didn't expect.
Yes.
Because when you moved here when you were 15, you moved from where? Because your dad got a job in Mooresville.
Yes, in Statesville, he actually got it.
Statesville,
so I moved from Santiago, the second biggest city in Dominican Republic, to Statesville. 5,000 people, I think. That's what they had at the time.
And that's when you started learning English.
That's right. I thought that I spoke English by seeing the subtitles. I'm like, oh, man, I got this. Then I showed up to, all-American town. And
Statesville's English is a little different.
Yeah.
But yeah, 15. So you're learning this through immersion, and then you end up being able to go to UNC Charlotte and you're going to study engineering.
That's right. So since I was a little kid, my goal was to be an engineer. The plan for the family was just to come here, learn English, and go back. That was how my mom tricked us. Like, the quickest that you guys learn English, you guys can go back. So my goal on learning, and then I realized, like, man, there's a lot of opportunities here. You know, I can go to college here. So, you know, I started looking into, you know, engineering schools, NC State, Raleigh, and so forth. But then, you know, ended up, I just wanted to stay close to my family.
And UNC Charlotte has a great engineering program.
I think it has the best engineering degree. I mean, the best engineering department probably in the whole state.
I'm not going to deny that. I taught a lot of engineers English 101 when I was teaching there.
Oh, yeah?
So, yeah,
I didn't know you were teaching.
I taught American Studies and English after going to undergrad and grad there. So I was entrenched, as they say. And then one day I was like, I'm leaving. I'm going to go do something else. And then now I have a podcast with chopsticks. But so boyhood dream of being an engineer. How did Three Amigos come into the picture? Because Three Amigos is an OG Mexican restaurant.
So the way that started, so I started working with my degree, civil engineering, for a construction company. But before that, I was working in restaurant throughout my college, going to college and so forth. Exactly. So, you know, got my first job and, you know, had my first kid, and then, you know, the economy crashed, you know, and I just, you know, holding my baby, looking at the TV, and like, somebody told me that it's not going to happen in 20 years. You know, I had a long run on this. I started thinking, you know, I got to do something else, you know, a side hustle or something like that, and start looking into restaurants, you know, some kind of cash business that will help me kind of kickstart my construction business, which will require a lot of money to get started. So that's where kind of the idea behind doing a restaurant. First, it was a pizza place in the Valentine area. Then some Russian came in with a bag of cash and took it out of me. I'm like, that's interesting.
That's another story for another podcast.
And then we found La Casa de las Enchiladas on Central Avenue. And it was a partnership between three of us. It was my wife, uncle, that worked at a pizza place, local pizza place, and then he's pizza guy. And he actually found that, hey, man, we have a good opportunity, and they want to get out. And we go, you know, we looked at it, and I tried the food, and was like, man, I never had an enchilada before. I never had authentic Mexican food before. I realized that at the time. Like, this is amazing. Then I looked at their reviews, and like, their reviews are great, but everything negative that they say about their place is like easy to fix. Like, they don't speak English. We can fix that. You know, the menu is in Spanish. We can fix that. Like, the atmosphere is kind of weird with the music so loud. Like, oh, we can fix that too. So that's how the Three Amigos was born. You know, we kind of rebranded to show the you know, some of the changes that were made, but I never touched the food, and I ended up with the most talented chef that I can think of that I have ever met, Alejandra de la Cruz, and she's still with me. And she's probably, well, not probably, she is the one of the big reasons behind the success of Sabor and everything else that I have done. She's actually a partner too in La Caseta. So something cool that we have.
La Caseta is some part that I want to get to that, but we have to build the foundation of Sabor, and really that idea of different Latin American street foods, but making them authentic as much as possible for a fast casual setting. You have to kind of soften the edges in a way sometimes for just production. But you're really working off of family recipes, right?
Yeah. Can
you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the Sabor menu, you know, we still offer the typical, you know, the tacos, quesadilla, taco salad. I wish I didn't have to sell that, and I just sell my street food items. But people are not too familiar with it. But growing up in the Dominican Republic, I used to go to these, you know, food stalls that, you know, that they had, that were just one item, like the arepa place, and they were always packed, something simple, something delicious. It represented Venezuela. And then we have the empanada place and so forth. So what I figure is that, man, if this is something so popular in all Latin America, you know, and it's not that easy to assemble, you know, if I can do it in a fast casual environment and try to convince the American audience to try this out.
Right.
I think
get them in there with the taco salad and the margarita, and then be like, what about that?
That's exactly what I did. So if you notice, the only special that I have on that taco side is on Taco Tuesday. Then everything else is around the empanadas and the arepas. Like, order it, please. Once you have it, I always say it, once you come into my door and you try my street food items, you're screwed. You don't have any other options unless you want to go to a Venezuelan restaurant, a Dominican restaurant, or a Salvadorian restaurant. Like, I put them all under one roof. The dish, typically most restaurants in Latin America, not Latin America, the ethnic restaurants, they have one dish that they're known for.
Right.
So all I did was I grabbed each one of those countries and have one of their best dishes and just, execute it very well that I can compete against any mom and pops out there, and we have it, it's fresh, good quality. You just come under one roof.
That's pretty ingenious. We're in a moment where restaurants are having to reimagine a lot, and I know that you're dealing with that. But I think a lot of chefs are considering that fast casual, and I think there's something very perfect about the fast casual but high quality concept. And Charlotte, because Charlotte is a city of motion. It's a city of, quick lunch to get back to the desk kind of thing. And so you had the opportunity, you have a really great chef. Why did you move into this easy to replicate fast casual spot? Can you talk about that a little bit, that business moment?
So that business moment came whenever I tried to replicate Three Amigos. And on the third try, I'm like, man, this is impossible to do. I don't know how anybody else can do it. The only way you can do it if you're Mexican, you have a huge family and you put a family member on each. Like, this is not sustainable.
Right.
If you want to keep it authentic and as good as Three Amigos is. Then I realized, like, hold on a second. Most of the items that I sell, the popular items at Three Amigos, these are pretty easy to assemble items that I can do, in a fast casual, environment. And then it came to training. So training was something that in my mind, I need to be able to train.
Street food is made for, it is fast casual.
It has, yes, yeah. Street food is exactly that.
Yeah,
All I did was just put it on a kind of brick and mortar building, and made it look nice. But it's the same thing, I'm a food cart at the end of the day.
Right.
And everything gets, the difference is that everything gets prepared on site. That's why I'm able to maintain all that freshness. But then with the fast casual aspect of, you walking up to the counter, I'm going to give you guys into a little secret. In Three Amigos, for example, you go in there, you wait for a table, then you sit down, then you wait for somebody to bring you that drink. You probably lose 3-4 minutes on that. Then they take your order. Then that person has to go back to the computer, put in that order. Then the food comes out. Then you have to bring it in. Then you got to wait for your check to get back. And then you waste about 45 minutes to an hour on the whole process. Right. And then you hope that the service show up too. So then you start running into that. And then they have a bad day. There's a bad tip day. So if I eliminated all that, you walk up to a counter. The first thing I do is I take your money. Okay, so now you order, I have your money. So you cannot be upset that there's no tables. You gotta kind of wait. So then I started seeing people kind of waiting waiting for a table, and people start rushing, cleaning their own table to get the next person in. So I was able to kind of rotate the table.
Look at that.
Fast.
You're helping me out. You're helping me turn.
Exactly. So nobody felt rushed because the customer was rushing the other customers.
Right.
So that was able to keep my footprint very small because of that. So I always say, I have your money now, so you have two options. You either find a table or you ask for a bag and we put in a bag. And most of the time we see people eating on their trunks of their car, on top of their trunk of their car. So, first you got to have good food. So we have that going on, and then, kind of eliminate a lot of the service headaches that, not fast casual, casual restaurants have.
Right.
And I believe that fine dining will stay around, because of the experience. But then casual restaurants, I don't see it. Even I want to convert Three Amigos to that.
Yeah.
The problem is the whole waiting and margarita while you wait for the table.
Yeah. I mean, there's that margin is very helpful with the margarita.
Yes.
So how many Sabors do you have now?
So there's 17 Sabor locations open as of this podcast.
That's amazing. Yes, I know. Every time I'm like, no more press release. I know what you're going to say. You should just say, like, there's a new one. But when you start to get to that size, are you, and this is a little bit of a technical question, a little bit of you giving us a little bit of proprietary information, are you starting to prepare things in a hub to, because that's how franchises are built. Those McDonald's fries come already pre-dipped in beef stuff before they go into the fryer. So are you starting to deal with that system now?
I hire consultants to kind of teach me how we can help grow, and everybody says the same thing, man. You got to simplify this.
Right.
You got to do it on a batch. But I still refuse to do that. So what I'm doing is that I'm going to simplify how I make my recipes, that we still are able to do it in-house, because we even gone to, the sauces, they're not consistent, okay, let's try to buy a better product instead of let's make it so we can control that aspect. So as of right now, I do not have a commissary kitchen. Everything gets made into that restaurant. Right. Every sauce gets, de-stemmed.
And if the habanero isn't as hot as last week's, then the salsa isn't as hot as last week's, right?
So another point of that is that, we haven't done a good job on that, educating customers. Like, our stuff is really fresh, that it might be different, the salsas from one day to the other, or 1 week to the other, because of the freshness of the product, how ripe it is. Not the freshness, but how ripe the jalapeno is, because it'll change the heat of it. Yeah. So
the Scoville unit does shift around.
I'm not that technical, but yes, exactly that. So I thought about it, as we grow, but we've been growing on the spider web kind of mentality of business model, that we still are able to touch most of our locations. So I'm still able to control a lot of the operation challenges that we have. I know if we go a little bit farther out, we might not be able to find the talented people that I'm able to move around, that train in one place and move to the other.
Right.
That's how I've been able to.
You don't want to be like, do you want to relocate to Michigan?
Exactly.
Because they would be like, no.
I tried to relocate people to Greenville, South Carolina, and I thought that they will buy into it, and they're like, no, I want to go back to Charlotte after the contract was done.
We're here in Camp North End, and this is where your newest restaurant has opened, and then it's very different. It is your newest, right?
It is the newest.
Right.
Yes.
And it's different than Sabor. It's, can you talk about why it was time to do something a little more unique?
Yes. So where the La Caseta comes from is that, people ask me, so what do you eat? How do you eat this stuff at home? And I try to make as fresh as I can, and I love grilling. So and then I start looking into it, that's exactly how they eat it in not Monterrey, Mexico, Tijuana. So then I started realizing that a lot of dishes are very, what I call, regionalized. They're from a region. So if you're from Mexico, you might consider the tacos from your grandma being authentic, and not the one from Mexico City. They might call that Americanized.
Well, it's exactly the same. I mean, it's very reductive in any culture to call Italian food that's it.
Yes.
There's a region in the United States up, up north it's called polenta, down south it's called grits. I mean,
That's right. I never realized that one. Yeah.
And it's a slightly different prep and stuff. So that's a good direction to go to really get into those different regional specialties.
Yeah. So what I did with La Caseta was that I have to have not a true story, but something that I'm speaking exactly from my own experience. So, for example, the tacos are originally from where my main chef Alejandra is from. I do it exactly how they do it in that town. So I did a lot of research behind it. I talked to her how she eats it, and then that's how I like to eat it.
Love it.
That's gonna go on the menu. We only have 7 items on the menu.
Wow.
And I thought it would be like a breeze. I didn't get any of my operations people involved. I'm going to do this. It's fairly simple. And boy, it took me like a month and a half to 2, just adjusting things and modifying
because
it.
You need those 7 to be perfect.
Perfect.
Yes.
If anybody has anything better, please show it to me. Because I'm going to try to beat you too. But for example, the al pastor, I use a traditional trompo style, the vertical rotisserie for the pork. And the tortillas are made by hand. So I created a huge challenge operationally, but I'm able to do it in such a small footprint. That's the only reason that I'm able to do it there. I cannot be making hand tortilla every time that somebody places a taco order at the board.
No.
We sell about 1,000 tacos per location on Taco Tuesday. So.
I know. Yeah, I've got the opportunity to visit LA and in January or early February before all this happened, and I was like, before I leave, I've got to have some tacos, some tacos. And I did. And they were fantastic, and they were handmade tortillas. And
it makes a huge
those
difference.
little details make a huge difference.
Yeah.
Now, you're an engineer by background, and that was your boyhood dream. And now you engineer restaurants. Do you see how that particular study of systems and structure you've been able to apply it to the business of restaurants?
So the biggest benefit that I have from my engineering background is being, my ability to understand numbers and decompose a problem and to figure out a solution for it. So with the numbers aspect of it, I'm able to look at financial reports and pinpoint a problem in the kitchen. You ask me, how can you do that? I can see an increase in my labor and my food costs. I know that there's something going on in the back kitchen that somebody's not being told what to do, so they're preparing more. They're working extra hours. Food is going to waste. They're working overtime, and something is not adding up.
Right.
So that ability to see numbers and identifying issues by looking at it without digging too far, it definitely has helped me. The ability, obviously, from engineering side to see a problem and not see it as the end of the world. Let's just find a solution. I see problems as an opportunity to figure something out.
Yeah.
And I live.
You don't melt down like me.
No. The thing is, I struggle with the fact that everybody started kind of melting down and kind of going crazy. Like, let's take a step back. Like, it's a really good opportunity for us to learn something.
Right.
And I always see it as that. Even now that I'm going through a lot of changes in the organization, it's like, man, it's overwhelming, but it's kind of cool to take something apart, and redo it and put it together.
It's a puzzle of restaurants. Yeah. And I guess that brings me to asking, how are you feeling about growth at this moment? Are you still on that moment? Because I know a lot of restaurateurs, obviously, in my job, and there's a point where it almost becomes like a house of cards. You're building, and there's something that's heavier over here and something that's bigger. And building in that spider web situation, you can really get that feeling very quickly. So what's kind of happening at the moment for your company?
If you asked me that question probably 4 or 5 months ago, or before the pandemic, I'm going to take a stab at it. I'm going to keep growing until the house of cards falls, and right now the pandemic kind of exposed a lot of issues that I had on my organization that I had to fix. Then I finally realized I can't keep growing the way that I was without building this huge foundation that nothing's going to topple it. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm still very hesitant to do something, let's say, in the next couple of months. I really had my eye on Raleigh, in the Raleigh market.
It's a good city.
But then, I still open my location outside of my Charlotte market, being Greenville, and I want to make that one run effectively.
And that's a wonderful market too.
Yeah. So I'm waiting for that one to be operating at with my goals before I jumped into those other markets. But I still have plans of growth. I'm definitely taking this time, as everybody else that you always hear, through this pandemic, you regress or you progress. I regress a little bit so I can, whenever we get out of this, we progress a lot. So I'm taking a lot of time into, I cannot take vacations. You cannot travel anywhere. So
might as well do something.
Might as well work. So
that's what I said. Like, I don't want to make sourdough. I guess I'll work,
So I feel like this last year and a half, I kind of been enjoying some of the success. And now, like, I'm back to work. So I'm trying to put in the work. So whenever we all going to come out of this and we will come out stronger, that we're in the position in the right place. And hopefully we can start hitting some of these markets that it can serve you at home, I guess.
Okay. You've had to regress. You've had to do this. This is not the trajectory that you thought your life was going to take, but you seem to be the kind of person that you're like, let's roll with it, right?
Yeah, that'll define it in a sentence there. A lot of people struggle with that. Like, man, how can you be okay just rolling with it? Like, well, we'll figure it out. If it doesn't work, we just turn around or pivot. Like, that's a big word now.
Yes. We shouldn't say it ever again after this year. Yeah. But what is making you hungry? What are you interested in right now for your learning? Because you're learning on the job.
Yes, 100%. Right? Yeah. So I guess what's making me hungry is that, I put the company in autopilot, opening stores, not paying attention to the little details, and I'm kind of paying the price for some of these locations that I have overlooked. So, my goal now is really to make every single store just a great store, that they have the same experience, every customer, that, freshness is always there.
Right.
Ingraining in my employees, that quality and service over profits. Typically it's always the other way around. When you talk to an owner, we got to make money. Like, no, we got to serve our customers. We cannot cheat.
Well, that's also the sustainability of business too. Mm-hmm. You do not build customers. You build quick money.
Yeah.
And that isn't sustainable.
Yeah. So I guess what's keeping me going now is just trying to build that really strong foundation that I kind of been running away from, because I know it's a lot of work. But
right.
I've been put in a position that I have to put in I have to stop doing what is fun, which for me, fun is opening restaurants.
Yes.
And now, I got to put in the work, make sure that we start building results in a culture in our company, and with all the changes and challenges that we're seeing on the economy and all this, unfairness and racial disparities and all that, we got to do the right thing.
Right.
We can choose on what side of history we're going to be on. So
that's right.
We got to build it right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what is one aspect of your job that you've created for yourself that really meshes like a puzzle piece with an aspect of your personality?
I guess honesty.
Mm-hmm.
If I have to put it on one word, is, that's something that I preach to all my employees, and we put it right there on the brand, fresh, authentic, and,
mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of ways where we can cheat a customer. We can start reheating a lot of stuff. We can start making it on a big kitchen and distributing it. But we're gonna do what we say we're gonna do. We're gonna say a fresh concept, made mm-hmm. in house, and we've been able to do that, and people are getting it. It's a challenge. 17 stores. You gotta convince 17 managers and 200 and some employees that's the best way to do it. Even though they work at Chipotle or Caesarea or somewhere else. Like, man, they have a better way to do it. It tastes exactly the same. Like, doesn't sit well with my culture, my background, and where I come from.
Right. And I mean, I wouldn't be doing this particular job that I do, if I didn't think there was an X factor in food beyond the product. Mm-hmm. I believe that the preparation does matter. I do believe that it matters, not just in the excellence of the product, but there's some kind of X factor. I mean, otherwise, I ask this question all the time. People like about their favorite meal, and half of them mention something simple that their grandmother did. Yeah. And it isn't because everybody's grandmother was amazing. Yeah. It's because that feeling is that X factor, right? Yeah, that feeling of care.
Yeah.
So what's keeping you up at night right now?
Election. What the hell? What is going to happen? Which way are we going to go? And, everything's getting politicized right now. And just seeing what's going to happen with the economy. Right now, people are kind of survive through all the help that was given by the government and all that. We saw the help, the sales increase.
Right, with the PPPs.
PPP
mm-hmm.
and people getting the money, so people were able to go out and eat more. I still see the same struggles that I had from the beginning of the pandemic, sales-wise and all that, but I'm kind of concerned for the economy overall. Like, stock market is booming. Like, how the hell does that
doesn't
happen?
make sense. I keep listening to Marketplace every night on NPR, and they're like, this is crazy.
I always do watch the stock market closely, and like something, like for me, something is not adding, but it's election year.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's really easy to make those numbers work,
Well, and a lot of that is algorithms and computer stuff that
right now is people sitting at home investing that don't know what they're doing.
Right.
And buying stuff because it's going up, so it just keeps going up.
They're like, I'm going to buy to-go boxes because those seem to be doing well.
Oh, there you go. But yeah, that's one, like, what's going to happen with the economy because nobody knows. And it's going to be a blame game. It was your fault. It was my fault. It was everybody's fault. It was China's fault. I don't give a shit whose fault it is. Let's get through it. What the hell's going to happen? And hopefully, people start paying attention to the reality of it. I'm concerned about inflation. Somebody told me, like, when there's a house fire, you don't ask how much the water costs. You just put it down. But I know we've been putting out this fire with a lot of money, but what's going to happen after this? You know, everything's going to be more expensive. I got to keep paying people $10-12 an hour. They got to be making 15, 16 to be able to afford rent because everything's more expensive. You know, food is more expensive.
There's a lot of issues with the restaurant industry, and I think they were there before, but it's everything from, rent to square footage to what we think Americans will pay for food to what that cost of food is that secret cost that we don't see, these meat packing plants and this other stuff. And then minimum wage and living wage and people thinking, well, go out and get a job and get off, and people having 2 jobs and still being, with an EBT card. So, it wasn't a sustainable business, Dalton. Construction has ups and downs too, but
construction, they don't like to pay their bills, so that's why I'm out of it. At least I collect my money every day in the restaurant. But it's difficult. It's difficult,
right?
And
it's a structure, and you kind of have to push different parts of it at different times because you can't. Some people, I'm seeing so much. Some people are taking down their restaurant and starting over. Some people are, changing a concept. I think tipping is a real big question. Like, how are we because tipping allows us to pay an unsustainable rate, $2.13 an hour plus tips. And then it creates a pretty predatory front of house culture if you're not careful, right?
Well, right now, people are anybody that was their business model, pay low, $2.13 an hour and hoping for the best. There's there's not that much dining. So,
right.
So this is a struggle. Like 3 Amigos, I had to man, screw this tipping. I'm going to have to pay these guys, at least $10 an hour. If they get the tips, that's on them.
And then pull the tip or whatever.
Well, not even that, because then you get into running to all these lawsuits or people entitled, and then you get somebody that didn't think they get a fair share. They report you, even though you're not doing anything wrong, but then you still have to come up with the, provide the stuff for the audits, and it takes time. So
there's just so much to think about. Yeah, so much to think about. Well, one of the things that I can do to help that is that I have a special power.
Okay.
And that is that I can time travel. And I can time travel because I have a magic picnic basket. Okay? So I can go back in time to conscript anybody to cook anything for you. I can travel the world and collect and source whatever. I can cook a little bit. I can chop some good vegetables for some good pico de gallo, but I'm not going to try to compete with your food. And I can, bring you a dream meal in that picnic basket. And it doesn't have to be anything that goes together. It's just the stuff that you want. So what am I going to bring you?
Oh, boy.
You've had a hard day. You need a dream meal. What's in there?
Just before I came here, I was looking at a picture that was in Italy, and I had this fish that it was kind of like a fresh tomato sauce with fresh pasta, and a side of these little sardines that are fresh on this lemon.
Oh yeah!
So if you can make that, I'll take it.
I can't make that, but I can. You know what's better? I can go time travel to Italy and get that for you from that restaurant, and I'll have fun and you'll have fun. So fresh tomato over pasta with fresh sardines from on
the side. That was the appetizer. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it was so cool that just the simplicity. That stuff probably had 4 ingredients. You had olive oil, white wine, pepper, garlic, and I think that's it. Oh, and the fresh tomatoes. Yeah, and that's probably what it was, and just fresh fish caught for the day.
Yeah. Anything else?
No, that's all I take. I had a big breakfast, so I always tell people I cannot think about food if I'm full. It's not like my family, we're finishing up dinner. So what we're gonna have what we're gonna have next?
That is Southern too. I mean, they're like, where are we gonna eat? I'm like, we just ate. We're washing dishes. Like, where are we gonna eat? Well, if people want to learn more about Dalton and his growing Although stable family of restaurants right now, you can go to thesouthernfork.com. I'm going to have links there as well as images so you can see the face behind the voice. If you have a chance to sample any of these restaurants, then I would highly suggest you visit. If you're in North or South Carolina, just try to see if any Sabor is in your area. Chances are it might be. I really love the chance to talk about all aspects of food culture and really that idea of that you are having of concept and how to build that while still remaining true to what you're seeing. I think this is a very fascinating nuance, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me about it today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah. Go 49ers.
Go 49ers. Go Niners.
Go Niners.
Hopefully one day they'll win.
Don't hold your breath. Hello and welcome to Talking with My Mouth Full. I am going to get a little personal today because Dalton's story was personally inspiring to me. I met Dalton, I don't know, a couple years ago now, almost, maybe a year and a half ago. And when he told me that he went to UNC Charlotte for engineering and then he had this, this growing hospitality company, I was really struck by that because I know that sometimes we feel like if we went to school for something, we have to do it. Even for me, with the nuance of I went to school for American Lit, I taught at the university level, but when I really thought about what I was supposed to do from that trajectory, while I was either supposed to write literary criticism or write fiction or poetry, and y'all, my fiction is rough. I went back and read something that I spent months and months and months and actually like years on, frankly. And, it feels pained when you read it because I was pained writing it. So one of the biggest gifts I ever gave myself is just to allow the passion of what was pulling me, which was food media and consumer writing. I've always loved a magazine, especially that size of like investigative reporting in a magazine and features and travel. And I allowed that to kind of pull me. And I haven't regretted it, even though I miss teaching sometimes and I liked it. So it's not really what I went to school for. I would have gone to journalism school had I known, but I had to learn all of that stuff on the job. So it's really kind of nice to give yourself permission, right? He just kind of took a chance and didn't say, well, gosh, I've invested all this time and a lifelong dream since he was a boy to be an engineer and have a construction company. He didn't let that stop him from reimagination. So I think sometimes, at least in my life, it's the stories that we tell ourselves more than anything else that keep us from evolving and growing and changing. So I was inspired by that, and I hope you get a little inspiration too. Thanks so much for listening, as always, and I will chat with you next time. You've been listening to The Southern Fork. I can't wait to bring you more culinary conversations, but in the meantime, I have one question. Are you going to eat all that?